we want you to go out there and fuck up first, and then really turn it around, and like it's gonna be this big moment. I would have been like, oh yeah,
Right.
you watch what I'll fuck up better than anybody you ever seen, you know. So hello.
Hi, CeCe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Awesome. Awesome. Are we good to go, Samantha?
Yeah. Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
Okay.
Samantha.
I will mute myself.
Okay.
awesome. Thank you.
No, chime in. It'll be great. We'll just.
Yeah, we'll just everyone can join in. It's all good. Awesome. Awesome. CeCe, thank you so much for doing this. My name is Adam, and this is about
Adam.
Hi, this is about you and your journey in music. And I want to talk to you about the new song you just put out, which is incredible. At first, I thought it was like, I'm like, how do I even say this? And then I'm like, it took me 2 seconds to listen to the song, and then it all made sense.
Well, so when we decided what to call it, I was like, listen, let's just abbreviate it because it's kind of like a long title. But then everybody was like, oh, I'm so excited for FUEO to come out. I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to like sound it out, but that's fine. Everybody.
That's what I was doing. I'm like, Fuego. And then you had like fire on the cover. I was like, is this, I was just
like, now
off.
there's this typo in this title. Like, I don't know how to spell Fuego. Like, what's wrong with this girl? Like, yeah. No,
exactly. And then I'm like, oh, fuck up each other. Okay, I got it now. It all makes sense.
Fuck up each other. Got it. I like to keep you guessing.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And
of course.
I love your Instagram that you put that you had 28 billion followers and then your account got hacked. I'm like, okay, that's solid. And then I was even like looking at, you're really funny, I will say. And I watched your like X Factor audition tape because I saw you were on X Factor. So then I watched like the original audition that you did when you like you did the Christina Aguilera song, but just like the sass you were spilling out to the judges. I was like, this girl's rad. Like I was dying.
Well, I don't know if you saw my manager hit me up because he was like, so your bio on Spotify just says your mom.
Your mom.
I was like, yeah. And he was like, should we change that? I'm like, no, why? Like, that's fun. Like, I don't know. I don't take myself too seriously. And actually what's funny is a friend of mine hit me up and was like, that's been my bio on Instagram forever. Okay. And they hit me up and they're like, oh my God, I just read about your Instagram being hacked. That's terrible. What bad luck right before the single comes out. And I was just like, there aren't even 28 billion people on the planet.
Yeah, 4 times the amount of people living on this earth were following me on Instagram. Oh my God.
Yeah, like, come on, let's use our noggins, you know? Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't like to take myself too seriously. And yeah, I think that kind of made me an easy target on X Factor because I'm just kind of always clowning, you know? And so they were able to like take me clowning and make it look like I was being dead serious. And I was like, oh my God. You know?
Well, it's obviously the reality show. They're like, okay, she's funny and has a personality. Let's lean into that. They're probably just so stoked that you could sing too.
That for the ratings,
right. But they were like, oh, she can sing really well. Okay, so that works. So we don't like we can build this. We can build this story because if you didn't do well,
make the narrative
they're like,
work.
oh man, like
That's right. That's right.
Very, very funny. Well, and then you're like interviewing some couple, I think, or some duo, and then
that's hilarious too because I love when people bring that up because that couple I was hanging out with all day, like we're homies, and the producers were like, go up to them and just like, you know, since you guys like have a rapport, like go ask them these questions. And I'm like, okay, fuck yeah, like let's go, you know, like these are my friends anyway. So then like it was just so funny, like watching it back and watching it edited because I was just like, that's just not how that conversation happened at all. And like I remember when the episode aired, they both texted me and they were like, oh my God, this is the most ridiculous like fake bullshit I've ever seen. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
whatever.
I kind of figured as much when I was watching it. I'm like, I just kind of figured just because of the way that you presented the questions. I'm like, this doesn't sound like, I think you would have went like funnier than what they actually asked you to
Yeah,
do.
and I
I'm
also
like,
make
well,
I'm pretty animated. Like I'm like all about like making faces and that's just like my personality. So my favorite is whenever they would take me making these faces. Like I would be like I would look at somebody like joking and they would take that and they would put it during like someone singing. Like they did that
sure.
they did that during boot camp, all the boot camp episodes. It was all that. Like people would be singing and like I would be talking to a friend and I would be like, oh my God, or something like that. And they would take that and they would put it while someone else was singing. I was like, this is some bullshit now, you know?
Yeah, they're just trying to make you look like the villain in the show. Like, oh, look, and now she's just trashing these other people while they're going on. Yeah, of course.
What a bitch, this girl.
Well,
what are you gonna do?
Right, and then you ended up making it really far, so that was also funny. But again, hilarious. Very, very funny stuff. And I appreciate you again doing this. So first off, I read that you're from Illinois area. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Grew up, born and raised in Illinois.
Tell me about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, so I grew up in a really small town in Southern Illinois. My dad was a farmer whenever I was growing up, and so I literally lived in a town of like 300 people till I was 15, and it was dope. Like
300 people. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Like my town was so small that to go to high school, all of the other rural towns sent like their grade school kids to this one high school because there wasn't enough like, you know what I mean? Like
there wasn't enough kids that have like a school.
Yes, they had to like gather all of us from like the outside rural areas to take them to high school. So so I just lived there till I was like 15, and my nearest neighbor was like 2 miles away, and it was kind of a dope way to grow up. We had horses and four-wheelers, and it was a good ass time, So then we moved up to Decatur, which is in the central part of the state. I love whenever anybody hears Illinois, they go, oh, Chicago? I'm like,
you're like, yeah, that's the very tip of the north end
geographically, Illinois is a very long state. That's the other thing. They're like, why do you have an accent? Like, are you from Texas? I'm like, no. Again, the bottom part of Illinois is very close to Kentucky and Tennessee and like all, So, but yeah, not a whole lot of opportunity for music where I grew up. So,
but being real, I'm just curious on the high school thing, just because grabbing people from this whole area, like a rural area, like how long would it take? Like, where was the school then, and how long did it take you to get there?
Another fun fact is my parents decided, because our commutes to school were so long, that they would be bus drivers. So both of my parents drove our school buses so that they could like be with us. It was it's very cute, very like Little House on the Prairie type bullshit, Sure. And to get to high school, it took like a half hour, I think, to get there, which isn't terrible. But then the other, the flip side to having mom and dad be bus drivers is that you get on the bus first and you get off the bus last. So you just kind of ride around for 45 minutes while everybody else gets dropped off.
Oh, sure. And then did you have like the class clown, like dick kids that were trying to be mean to your parents as the bus drivers, or not really?
Not really, because my dad's terrifying.
Well, that works.
My dad is like, they always called him Mr. Smiles because he did it. He was very like, he's a very like sweet man, but he's very like, very, very serious. So like if you could get him to laugh, it was like a real win. Okay. So and he's got like this big beard and everything too. So like people don't fuck with my father. No. Okay. They just do not. And my mom is scary in her own right, so people don't really fuck with her either.
Well, that's good. Well, that's very good to hear, because I was just scared for you when you said that. I'm like, uh-oh, are these kids just gonna like tear you apart because you're like, oh, your mom drives the school bus? Like, I don't know. Kids just
Definitely.
suck. So I was just curious.
Kids definitely suck. That is a fact. But
Yeah,
they
I
were
have two of
also
my own,
rising.
and I
Oh, you
know.
do?
Yeah,
That's
like I
awesome.
have my older son just he's in just finished middle school, like technically, or not yet, almost. So it's like the kids that are around his age are like the middle school is like the worst, and then my other
Oh my
son's
God.
gonna be in first grade, and yeah, it's just seeing other children. I'm like, okay, kids are
Yeah.
mean.
No, kids are the worst. And I'm sorry, but girls are absolutely brutal. Like girls are not, the guys can't be mean, but like guys are mean in a way that like I can take it. Like
Mhm.
guys, like the guys can tease and shit like that. And if you like give it back to them or whatever, then it's done. Then you've like gained respect.
Right.
Girls and guys will be like, like if you're gonna fuck with me, do it to my face. All right, do like, come on, like
Mhm.
say it with your chest and do it to my face so that I can like
Respond.
respond. Girls, girls like to sneak, and
Sneak around.
they like to be real. Do you have a daughter?
No, two sons.
Oh, God
Yeah.
bless you.
But I have a younger sister, and I remember her just like, yeah, not her. She was like the target. So I felt so bad for her because, like, I'm like, I didn't have this experience in middle school. And she's like, oh, like it was the worst days of her life.
I don't know. It's so, God, now that you say that, it's so true. Like the worst of it was in middle school because I in middle school, I vividly remember, well, so this is the thing. In our grade school, we all grew up together.
Mhm.
But then since we all joined this high school from rural areas, it's all these kids that you've never met before. So then you go to lunch and you're like, where the fuck am I going to sit? That
Mhm.
was my big thing. I'm like, where the fuck am I going to sit? So I go over to this table with all these girls, and it was like these round tables that didn't have chairs, like the stools were like attached to them. Do you remember those?
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
ever
yeah.
have?
Hmm.
So like the idea of like pulling up a chair was like,
You had to
no,
get on the bench, right? That's already
you had to like really get
connected.
it. Uh-huh. So, and there was only so many spots to like pull up chairs in between them. I walk up to this table and there was definitely room for me. But I remember I went to sit my tray down and this girl goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, but this table's kind of cramped already, but you can kneel if you want to."
Wow. A middle
And
schooler? That's bold.
I was like, I am not gonna kneel at this motherfucking table. I'm gonna
Right.
go stand over there by myself. So yeah, girls are
Oh
great. Like
my.
they'll say shit like that with a smile on their face and be like, "What? I didn't do anything. Like, why does that make you
I
upset?"
was just offering her space next to us.
Yeah, I told her she could kneel at our feet.
Oh my
It's just so,
gosh.
that's so
Wow.
I
Okay.
get that. So at least you don't have any daughters that you feel like you need to go kick some middle schooler's ass for being mean to them. So
Sure, sure. I mean, yes, that's a great point.
yeah.
Wow. So you moved away from this, you moved to a different part of Illinois at 15, is that what you said? Was that a bigger area?
Yeah, it's slightly bigger area, and that's when high school got a little bit easier because I moved up to Decatur when I was a sophomore, and which I thought would be really difficult starting a new school as a sophomore.
Hmm.
But oh my God, I had just gotten my braces off and I learned how to
Oh,
straighten my hair. And I was like a cheerleader at that point. So I walked into this school and I was like a new woman. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this school my bitch. And I did, damn it. I really did. So high school got a lot easier after
well, that's
that.
good because I that could also went sideways too with all the
Oh yeah.
previously popular girls that were
Oh
getting all
yeah.
the attention being like, "Oh, who's this? Like, who's this girl think she
I
is?"
yeah, I think it could have gone that way, but since I immediately started in cheerleading, I like kind of had
Oh, you
kind of
befriended.
I had a group already before school even started. So
Okay.
it was, yeah. And my mom hooked that up. God bless that woman. The cheerleading tryouts had already happened whenever they moved. And she went in and she like talked to the coach. She was like, listen, she's really good. Like, let her just like audition for you.
Mhm.
And I like, she's really good. Just let her try. And so then I did, and I made the team. And I was like, Mom, you are gee, so I kind of had like the summer to make these friends or whatever on the cheerleading squad or whatever.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, then how did you get into music? Have you always been singing?
Oh yeah. So I was always I've been singing since I was 5. And and yeah, I was like in plays and all of that shit. And then whenever I started high school, the only thing that they really had musically in our school was show choir. And I was like, I don't really think that's my bag, like I just don't eat just the, I just like, I don't think that's really me. So I'm like, I'll just stick to cheerleading. But what I did do is I sang the national anthem at like all of the games and different things like that. So I'd be like cheerleading and then I'd run over and like, and then like come over and,
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, so you just, that's interesting because I bet you the kids that were in the choir wanted to do that so badly. And you're like, I'm not even in this, but I'm such a better singer than all of you. I'm just going to go ahead and do the national anthem as well. And you guys just sit back.
I don't know how all of that worked out. Like, I don't even know how I ended up in those scenarios, but somehow I just like kept doing it. And then I started doing it at away games. So like, I don't know how that worked out either. Like we would go to other schools and I would be doing it as like the away team at these other schools. That is so weird. That like I've never actually considered that, like how that actually happened. But that is that's strange. That did happen. That definitely happened.
You're like, not only is our choir not good enough to do the national anthem, your choir team sucks too. So I'm gonna go ahead and step in for you guys.
Oh, so there's like also, how did the principal explain that? Like, hey, so the away team is coming and one of their cheerleaders is gonna do the national anthem for this game.
Yeah, right. Not only, it's not even one of their like singer band people, choir. It's the one of the cheerleaders.
One of the cheerleaders.
She's better than all of you, so she's gonna come and do it.
Yeah, to this day, I'm really not sure how that all transpired, but it
that's awesome. That's obviously we're still singing. Were you just doing, was it basically just for fun then, and then the national anthems when you could step in and do that? I mean, it doesn't sound like you were in the chorus or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in high school, so I like the idea of pursuing music as a career at that point was like, I don't really know how to do that, so I also, because I have because my, oh my god, I completely lost my train of thought. Holy shit. Do you ever do that whenever
all the time,
mid-sentence and the entire idea escapes you?
So you weren't in choir chorus. You said, I was going to try to pitch it to you. I guess not.
Yeah.
Were you pursuing music? You said.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. God bless you. Okay. So I can't, because my parents like didn't know anything about like getting into music. Like their whole thing is like, well, maybe you'll get discovered someday. If you just keep putting yourself out there, maybe you'll get discovered. Like that used to be the way that you made it.
Right. Well, that's what they probably grew up hearing, right? Like, oh, and they were discovered at the mall. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That you sing at a bar or something, and miraculously somebody's going to be there that's like, this girl's a star.
Right.
Like it's so I think that's why they were like, let's just keep putting you in, if you want to go sing at fairs around town, you can. So that's what I did. I would like go to fairs and sing in their talent shows and all that bullshit. And yeah, it's
just covers, or like, I mean, were you just doing cover songs or okay?
Oh yeah, Whitney Houston. That was my go-to.
Okay.
I've won many a talent show with "I Will Always Love You." Not gonna lie to you. Either that one, or I was also doing country at the time, because that's what you do in Illinois. You sing country.
Sure.
I was like doing Carrie Underwood and all that.
Okay.
It's a real departure from where I'm at now. But
right. Quite a bit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's that's kind of how that all started. That was me pursuing music at the time. I didn't realize that wasn't really
the way to do it.
Doing much other than it
Well,
was a good experience. But
did that land you on X Factor too? Was your mom like, they're doing an audition for the X Factor?
no.
There's this show I saw on television.
So that's a funny story, actually, is that I went after I graduated high school. There's a fine arts university in our hometown. And
Okay.
so I was like, oh, well, if I want to be in music, I'll need to go to college for music.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way. Maybe for somebody, but not for me. So I went there and I was like learning Italian opera and music theory, and I was in a godforsaken choir, which my ass with my main character energy is like, I don't need to be in this fucking choir. I'm like, I'm in the back. I don't like it. I
quit.
No, so
I'm on the front center. Okay, I quit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not the star of the show. Sign me out. No, but so I was like, I was there and I met this guy that was like always helping me with my music theory homework, because music theory is basically like math, which also find me out. No, thank you. I could do a lot of things. Math is not one of them.
Okay. Same here though. That's why I went into communications. What degree can I get where I don't need to know any math or science?
I don't have to do anything. I thought that I would be clear with music, but definitely not. And music theory is damn near like calculus. Like that's like how I can equate it, especially if you're doing like classical and that type of shit. It is a completely different language. So this guy, I was like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, help me with my homework. So he'd always help me. And he was like, if we want to be in music, this isn't really what we should be doing. And I'm like, what should we be doing? Tell me. He was like, we should start a band and drop out. I was like, that seems like a lot to like hang your hat on, since you and I have only helped each other with homework. Right. He was like, well, let's write a song together and see how it goes. So we wrote a song. We thought it was the greatest thing ever. It was not.
Okay.
But we thought at the time, we were like, oh my God, we are fucking geniuses. Like, what are we doing at school? We're dropping out. We're starting a band. Wrote one song.
Get Warner on the line.
Call labels. We've written a song and it is great. So
we are ready.
We're so ready. We're so ready to take over the world. So he was like, let's drop out. Like, we've got this. Look at this. Like, we're fucking awesome. And so I did. I went to my parents. I'm like, guys, met this guy. We started a band. We wrote the song. I want to drop out and we're going to go on tour. And my parents are like, hey, if there's ever time to do it, go ahead. You can go back to school anytime. I was like,
whoa.
I was like, yeah, my parents are like
so supportive.
So rad, like very supportive. They know this is what I want to do. So I've been telling them that I was going to do this since I was 5. So like for them to be like, oh, you want to like say fuck it to college? Sure. Whatever.
Right.
So
that's incredible.
We started our band, and as all bands do, we did break up. It was a real tragedy. But he is still like one of my greatest friends, and he's actually, that DJ group Cheat Codes?
Yeah.
You ever heard of them?
No, I've interviewed them before.
Okay, yeah, that's Matt Ellifritz is my old bandmate.
No way.
Isn't that wild? Isn't
That's
that like
crazy.
kind of the wildest thing? Yeah.
Wow.
So he's
oh my gosh.
so dope. Like, but he is like such an incredible guy, and like so much the guy that was just always like, yeah, this is what I'm doing and I'm gonna figure it out. And he fucking did it, so
is he from the same town as you then?
So he's from St. Louis, but we went to college together.
Okay, yeah, because I interviewed Trevor Dahl, so that's why I was the other guy in the band.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, I'm like, I don't remember his name, and then I was like, oh yeah, because I only interviewed one guy from Cheat Codes at the time.
So Matt's the guy with the real short hair like mine, and I remember that, like, God, we were in this group. It was called Valhalla. So cool. So cool.
Wow. So maybe you did have a hit on your hands.
Yeah. Listen,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
telling
Like,
ya.
yeah, like you should have
To
called the
this day,
labels.
to
Like
this
now
day,
it's all
sometimes I'll
coming down
do.
full circle here. It
No,
wasn't
to
like
this
you're like, and
day.
that guy's now running the local Del Taco in our hometown. Like,
No,
he's like
we
a
were
legit
for real.
band. Yeah.
Dude, we were for real. To this day, he'll like hit me up and be like, Animals is still a bop. I'm like, it is still a fucking bop.
That's so rad.
But actually, so the Leopard Print started with that band because
Oh.
we used to tour the Midwest, going to dive bars, packing up his mom's minivan and going to these dive bars. And so I was like, hey, our song's called Animals. I'm gonna paint leopard print on my face. I don't know why that occurred to me to do that, but I started doing it. And so naturally there was videos and stuff on YouTube of the band, and I did like a couple little cover videos, like that type of bullshit, because that's what you did back, you know, at that time. Cover videos on YouTube was like such a huge thing. And
Well, a lot of people made it doing that. I mean,
oh my God, they would blow
obviously
up.
Justin Bieber, Tori Kelly got her to start that same way.
Yeah, they feel like people could like blow the fuck up doing that.
Yeah.
So I posted a couple of those, and then one day, like a producer from X Factor just emailed me and hit me up and was like, hey, we really want you to come be on the show. And at that time I was like, fuck that. I'm a real artist. I'm a real fucking songwriter, and I don't need this damn show. I'm in a band, you know, like,
right.
like, we're gonna make it. So, and then I remember I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I came home from work one day, and I was literally working in a pharmacy in their postal department. Why this pharmacy had a postal department is beyond me, but that's where I worked.
Okay.
And I was
mailing out drugs.
I was in my Dale's South Lake Pharmacy like smock, and I came home and I was like, man, fuck this. I shouldn't be doing this shit, and I might never make it out of this town if I don't do something like drastic. So I hit up the producer and I was like, listen, I'll do it, but I don't want to be a joke. And she's like, oh, you're not going to be a joke. It's going to be so great. So they're like, you're just going to come to Kansas City and we're going to fast track you, and you're going to just sing directly for Simon and the judges. And I was like, oh my God, I like, this feels so crazy that this like just dropped in my lap, you know? Like it, but that's honestly how like some of the greatest things in my life have happened, is I wasn't looking for them, wasn't asking for them. They just kind of dropped in my lap, and I'm like, all right, we're going to roll with this. So that's kind of how all that came to pass.
Wow. That's so, and then obviously you're not you're not afraid to be in front of people and work the crowd. I mean, it was so like obvious in that first video or the one I watched of just you on stage doing the Christina Aguilera thing. Like you had the moves, the like winks, the like everything was like
the hair flips.
Yeah, like two, like
I still flip that, you know, my imaginary hair all the time. I'm like, bitch, come on. You know, but no, I do. I actually get like plenty of nervousness before. The anticipation is always what kills me, is the anticipation of like right before I go out. But then once I'm out there, it's like blinders go on and you're just like, oh, these people came to see a show. So I'm
you brought them a show for sure. And just being quick-witted, like you're like you're like roll the track or something.
I can't even like talk. Oh my God. It's like, you know what X Factor is like for me? It's X Factor talk for me is like when you are reminded on Facebook of statuses that you posted like 15 years ago.
But it was awesome. It holds up. It holds up because I watched it. I was like, "That's funny."
Does it hold up?
It does.
I don't know.
Honestly, I would say it holds up because you just
I get bombarded by Facebook memories of those captions, and I'm like, I could not have less in common with the girl that wrote these statuses than I do right now. Sure. And that's how I feel about X Factor. I'm like, I don't even know that bitch.
Okay. Well, I only watched, to be fair, I only watched the 7-minute clip I found on YouTube. And just from the quick, just from that, and then reading about you, obviously, and then your Instagram and your your Spotify descriptions. I'm like, okay, she's funny.
Yes,
And then when
your
you
mom.
then the roll the tape, I was like, okay, or roll the track. Like, I'm like, this is
Roll the
good.
track. Yeah.
No,
I
but
was
just like the
pissed.
sass you were like the fact that they stopped you and you weren't like, okay, I
Oh
get,
no, I was pissed.
I have
Oh,
another
no,
song.
I was fully pissed. I was like, these fuckers really just fucking stopped me in the middle of my. Well, really, what was going through my mind is all day they had been putting me in these scenarios and like coaching me on how to behave, and
Oh,
like really like egging me on to like be the most over the top version of myself,
sure.
and like encouraging me, and like, oh yeah, like the executive producer would be like, CeCe, you about to go out and fucking kill it? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill it. Are you kidding me? Like, let's fucking go. I was born for this shit, you know? And then, and I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I wonder if they're setting me up. I wonder if they're setting me up to like embarrass me, because they're like egging me on, like being like, oh yeah, you're a fucking superstar. You gotta act like a fucking superstar.
Oh, sure.
And so then when I got out there and they stopped my track in the middle of like right as I got started, I'm like, these fuckers are trying to embarrass me. And if you're trying to embarrass me, oh, it pissed me off so much. That's why I was like, roll the track, let's go. I'm not now you've done it. Now
But the
you've
fact
done
that
it.
you
Now
did that was like, right. That just added so much. It was, instead of being like deer in headlights, like what, how do I even react to this? It was like, oh, you're like, I didn't even get to hit the high note yet. I can do it. Like, do you want to? And they're just like, oh.
You know what's weird too? And this, you know what's weird, and this might be purely like conspiratorial, if that's a word, but like when that track, so you submit your tracks before you go out there, before you audition,
Okay.
and it's the tracks that you've been preparing to. So they started playing that, and I was like, this is not mine.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't recognize this. This is not, something about this does not sound right. This doesn't sound like my track. So I don't know if they got the track and pitched it up or pitched it down or like changed the key or something. But I was like, this does not sound right at all.
Right.
And then after like talking to like a couple of other people that have done these shows, they're like, oh yeah, they all do that to like fuck with people, because then it makes you like, when you start, it makes you like come in the wrong key or like, you know, whatever. Like,
Oh yeah.
So
That makes sense. I mean, they don't want
it.
it all. Yeah, they don't want everybody to come out sounding great, because then it wouldn't be a show.
No, are you kidding? So I was like,
Interesting.
yeah. So it was just but also I'm kind of like, I was so down to just like give the people a show, even in the like the TV aspect of it. I was like, hell yeah, it's like acting. I'm just here to like do a job, you know? So I'm like, if you guys would have just let me in on this, I could have even amped it up for you.
Right.
Like,
We could have made this even better.
yeah. Like if you want, like, listen, we want you to go out there and fuck up first, and then really turn it around, and like it's gonna be this big moment. I would have been like, oh yeah.
Right.
You would watch what I'll fuck up better than anybody you ever seen, you know? So but no, they did not let me in on the joke.
Okay. Well, we can move away from the trauma of
Okay,
reliving X Factor.
I'm sweating.
No, so you obviously make it pretty far in the show, or far in the show, 6, and then that's over. And then what goes on next from leaving the show to obviously years later and what you're doing now?
Yeah, you know, I think people just assume that whenever people like me get off of a show like that, that all of these doors are opened and that you just miraculously get to have a career after that. And that's just not how it went for me. It was kind of like I went off the show and I went from, you know, being immediately in the public eye and everything like that, to really being back at square one and having no money, no job, like nothing, but still everybody's watching you. So like you don't have any resources, and people are expecting you to well, you're off the show, so let's hear your music. Let's see, we really want to see you like catapult and like become an artist now.
Mhm.
I just didn't have like any of those resources. So I moved out to LA I stayed in LA for a few months after the show, and it was really, really hard. I was brand new to the city and coming from a very small town. I was like,
Yeah.
this
Now
place
you're
is terrible. I was like,
now you're in this
people.
massive, one of the biggest cities in obviously in
Yeah,
the States
and
and
like I
everything
was
else.
not in a great group of people whenever I was first out here. So I was like, this place is fucking hell on earth. It sucks and I hate it here. So I'm leaving. So I went back to Illinois for a couple of years, and then in 2015, I think. That's right. I was like, I had a new single come out, and I was like, I really need to be in LA to be doing this. So packed up the Corolla and drove out here. And I actually I moved in with B. Miller whenever I moved back out to LA.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I lived with her and her mom when I first moved back out here. I lived with them for like 6 or 7 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my own place after that. And I basically moved out here as a brand new artist, and I was just doing the indie thing, and I was trying to meet other people to collaborate with, songwriters, producers, so I could keep making music. And yeah, I put out a few singles. Broke as Fuck is one of my favorite ones that I put out during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so fun. And then then cut to over,
Like
I had basically right before the pandemic started, I had all of this music ready to go that I was going to start rolling out. And then the pandemic started, and I was like,
yeah, because the only other song on your Spotify is Broke as Fuck from 2017, I believe.
Right. So there was songs that I released in between then, but what I did was a sync project. So what that is, for anybody that isn't familiar with that, is like a project that's specifically for sync. Is it songs that you make specifically to be placed in movies, TV shows, commercials, video games. So like it was a completely different sound for me, but I had met this producer that was like, oh, we should do a sync project. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. So I put out those songs, and I love those records, but they aren't indicative of like the type of artist that I am, really. Like that it was more of a project for a specific purpose.
Gotcha.
So those came down, and I'll probably re-release them like maybe under a different profile or something like that, because I do have people that are like, why'd you take down Daisies and Little Hell and all that? I'm like, it just doesn't really fit like the trajectory, But yeah, so then after that, the pandemic, I started my new artist project, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, maybe instead of rolling things out during the pandemic, I will just keep writing and try to finish a project while we're like stuck in the house doing this. And yeah, like during that time, I know it was such a horrible time for so many people, and I think I was definitely one of the lucky ones that I got to keep working during that time, and I got to keep collaborating and making music and everything during that. And it was really honestly, like it was a great time to just be super creative, and like I think the pandemic was a real ego death for a lot of people. It really snapped people into reality of life and how fragile it is, and really stripped back a lot of the bullshit. And so yeah, I really think that that's kind of where I'm so proud of this project that we wrote during that time. Like it is like truly like such a great body of work, and Fuck Up Each Other is just the first one off of it, so
okay, so this is something that came out of those lockdown songs that you had put together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell me about putting the record together then. Was it because everyone was inside? Did you have to do like a Zoom record type deal, or were you able to?
yeah, we did some Zoom sessions, but it just so happens that my partner Chase, you know, we lived together and we lived together through the pandemic and everything. And so we literally built out a studio in the living room and of our apartment. And so we would
Oh,
just
cool.
wake up in the morning, make coffee, and you know, get writing and create. And we're like, you know, there's really no rules during this time. So let's just make music for fun and you know, do shit that feels good. And that's kind of, I think that freedom is really, it was really, really good for us. So that's how we started it. And then once things started lifting a little bit and it got safer for you to be around people if you were wearing masks or if you had been quarantining together, then we started collaborating with like John Samuels, my producer, who I, you know, love so dearly. He's so dope. He's like this 22-year-old kid from South Africa that's
Oh,
like,
wow.
he's like a savant. Like he's crazy. And so we met him and, you know, we had these songs that we were like, we could really use like a dope producer to come in and really help bring these to the, you know, really elevate these. And so then to kind of like nurture this young producer that was like, yeah, I moved out here by myself when I was 18 and I've just been trying to make it happen. And we're like, you come with us, come under our wing, and we'll, you know. So we basically call him our adopted child, you know. So because
how'd you find him?
He's just a friend of a friend. I think we were
okay.
we were at like a birthday party or something, and he was there, and we were like, you're cool as shit. And we're like, you're really cool. Do you happen to make music? He's like, yeah, listen to my stuff. I'm a producer. We're like, wait, you just happen to be like so dope. So yeah, so we started making music with him, and then Fuck Up Each Other is actually the first song we did with him.
Wow. I love the production on the I mean the lyrics, the melody, everything else is amazing. But the intro, like I love just the choice of like the music and the production on it. It's awesome.
That was our first session with him, and that was the first thing that he did was that intro. And he started that, and I was literally like, Chase and I looked at each other. We're like, oh, I think okay,
we're on to something here.
We might be on to something. So yeah, that was the first one that we did together, and we've done a whole project since then. So
amazing. That's so cool. And then you did a video that just came out a few days ago for the song as well, which is a killer video. Or what day? It's
Thursday. Today's Thursday. It came out yesterday.
Okay, it came out yesterday. Sorry, I had a little preview link of it. So yeah. I thought it was a couple. Anyway, it's out now. That's all that matters, right? Well, tell me. So the video is awesome. I love the concept about. I skateboarded growing up, so watching the guy like ollie over the trash can sideways was like just like brought me back to my youth and everything else. So what was the concept? Like, did you come up with the concept of the video? And tell me about putting it together.
So for the video, I had what I usually do for my videos, because I've done a few of them. It's most of the time, like either I direct them or Chase and I direct them together. But this one, I was like, I'd really like to just be the artist on set instead of like trying to wear all these different hats. But what I like to do, because I'm, the creative and the visual aspect of what I do is so dictated by me and my taste and all of that. I put an aesthetic together. So I put an overall like creative direction of what I wanted. I had references of kind of how I wanted it to feel and what I wanted it to look like, and color palettes and different things like that. And then I knew that I wanted it to be this group of friends that were, kind of maybe involved in some different situations that might not be the best, but they're having a lot of fun doing it. So you kind of overlook the fact that it might be a little bit maybe dangerous what they're doing or whatever, that type of thing. And so then I had the overall idea, and then I met Connor, and Connor was like, I really want to do the video. I want to see what you have aesthetically, but I'd like to put together a treatment first, and then we can kind of marry them. I'm like, great, you do your thing, and then we'll reconvene. It just so happened that the treatment that he submitted was using 90% of the references that I had already pulled.
Oh, wow.
Our aesthetics matched completely. What he brought in though was the idea of doing it at a racetrack. And
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute. That is so fucking genius. I would have never even thought of that as an option. Like I didn't even know that we could do that. And I said, you know that I ride motorcycles, right? And he was like, no. And I'm like, yes, I'm a brand ambassador for Royal Enfield. I have so many friends that ride as well. Like, let's make it about that. And genuinely, it really all came together like it was predestined. It was amazing. Like all of the, Royal Enfield, and there's a local customs shop that we're close with. They were so supportive. They're like, hell yeah, we'll bring the bikes out. We'll bring out
cool.
this. And then that's actually my friend Bailey driving the Bronco. That's her.
Okay. Really? Where you're in
like,
this passenger seat and you're kind of going around the circle?
Yeah. So that dope bitch with all the tats and shit.
Yeah.
Amazing. I hit her up. I was like, hey, I'm shooting a video. Do you want to be in it? And she was like, yeah, do you want my Bronco to be in it too? I'm like, I was like, I didn't even consider that, but yes. And so then Connor was like, okay, we're going to mount a camera to the Bronco and it's going to be so sick. And like the film geek in me was absolutely geeked about mounting the Bronco with a camera. And then he did this super dope thing that you can see in the bridge where he mounted a camera to one of the motorcycles. So that's that really amazing shot where like the racers are coming around the side of the motorcycle and you
sure. Okay.
The eye line of the wheels and that type of shit. Oh my God. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And fun fact too is that scene where that racer comes around the Bronco and like fist bumps me. There's two women in actually all but three of the riders are women.
Really?
Which I really wanted. The whole reason that I started writing is I wanted to show other women that like, this is not just a guy thing. Anybody can do it. Like you're not too small to do it. You're not too like, I always thought I was too small to ride. And then I learned, I was like, oh, it's really just about like learning how to position your weight and that type of shit. But Royal Enfield has a build, train, race program where they pick women to essentially build their own racing bike. They teach them to build their own racing bike and give them all the resources to do it. Then they train them to race and then they join the race team.
Wow.
So that those women were actually in the video as like they were the ones that were like fist bumping me and that type of shit. So
that's so cool.
I think that is just so cool. And I'm just so excited. I want everybody to know that because I think that's like the coolest thing.
That is amazing. And with the video as well, like, or I guess with the motorcycles, when did you get interested in riding, or is that something you've done for a long time?
I've always loved motorcycles. My dad always rode whenever I was growing up.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then like on the weekends and stuff, my guy friends from school would ride their 4-wheelers and dirt bikes over to our farm and stuff because we had a creek in the back, so we would like go mudding and all that shit.
Oh, that's cool.
And so then but I never thought that I could ride a motorcycle because I'm like, oh, I'm too small. Like, I can't do that. But then last year I was like, I hit up, I got connected with Bree Poland, who is the lead brand manager or whatever for Royal Enfield. And she's like, you really could ride, your size isn't really that big of an issue. If you can like, you just have to learn how to do it. And so I started learning and it's been like an incredible experience, like being a brand ambassador for them and riding for Royal Enfield. And it's such a supportive community too. Like I hit them up about the video and they were like, hell yeah, we'll help. Like we will definitely send out riders and bikes and all of that. And so, yeah, it's been a really fun thing to learn how to do. I'm definitely not as good of a rider as those girls. They were like hauling ass around the track. And I was like, I'm like watching, I'm like, I don't have to do that, right? They're like, no, you can go slow. Like, the assistant director was freaked out all day because it's his whole job to make sure that nobody gets hurt on set.
Right.
And these bitches are just fucking going around this track, and he's like, and then I'm hanging out the window of this Bronco, and I'm like, we have a walkie inside the Bronco. He's like, CeCe, if you could not do that, that would be great. And then
please get back in the vehicle.
And then the director would get on Connor and be like, don't listen to Nick. You can keep doing it. It looks fucking dumb. I'm like, so it was a very stressful day for Nick Johnson, but we got the shots, and then no one died. It looks
great.
So.
And no one got hurt, or no one died. There you go.
That's right. No one died. So
amazing. Well, that's awesome. I love the song and the video, and I appreciate you taking time to hang out with me today, CeCe. This has been awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. You asked amazing questions, so thank you for having me.
Of course. No, this has been great. I have one more quick question before I let you go, though. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Don't stop. That's it. Like, really, don't stop. Keep getting better. I read a quote once that said, "Be so good that they can't ignore you," and I really took that to heart, because I think that the music industry, the content industry with TikTok and Instagram and all that, we're so oversaturated with people that are creating and putting their art out there, which is amazing. And it's so great that there are so many platforms for people to put their art out and share their creations. However, it does make it a lot harder to really cut through. But I do believe that quality will always speak the loudest. So keep going. Do not stop. If you really want to do something, just don't stop, and make yourself so good at what you do that people cannot ignore you. That if they do see it, that they're like, that you can't be ignored. So that's really the only advice that I have. And I really don't think there's that much of I don't really believe in luck that much. I really just think that there are people that give up sooner than others. So just outlast all the people that can't cut it. You know what I mean? Because people will give up, and then you'll be one of the last ones hanging out.